some water.
It's fine. Thank you. And thank you, Gaston. It is a pleasure to be here. Over many years in my career, I've been to Mexico and met many colleagues. Thank you to Alejandro and Gonzalo for the invitation. Ruben, we've met and talked many times. When I was in Dallas, we worked with the Guadalajara Convention Center when they were trying to develop Guadalajara. But I tell you, my entire career has been in the majority in San Diego. I started when the building was 18 months old, and now it's 25 years old, so I've raised a child. And those of you who are parents and aunts and uncles, you know what that means. So I'm happy to be here, and over the 25 years, San Diego has become one of the most successful convention facilities driving trade to San Diego. I'm going to speak about, as it's mentioned, evaluating, measuring, and reporting on your social and economic impact in San Diego, in your facility. First, I'm going to start with a little history and background about San Diego. Kind of put you in perspective where we started. We said the building opened in 1989 and celebrated 25 years last year. Then I'll talk about the strategy and tools we use to evaluate the business that we book into the convention center and how we market the facility. I'll move on to how we measure the value and social impact of the convention center and show you some of the tools we use in measuring that business. And then I'll end by talking on how we report on the success of the convention center and our role in the larger San Diego community. So let's get started. History and background. The Port of San Diego controls all the land along the waterfront in San Diego, when in fact in California there are several ports that control all the land along all the waterfront in California. So in 1980, the Port of San Diego and the City of San Diego partnered to build the convention center, and what you see here is the site in 1980 without any construction. This is the future home of the convention center as well as the Marriott Hotel. As pictured here, when the building was being planned, the downtown was crime-ridden, run-down, empty warehouses, and basically not very livable. And so the overarching goal was to redevelop the downtown waterfront as well as various neighborhoods, and then attract new businesses to downtown, create a healthy environment for the community, and also build on San Diego's reputation as a strong tourist destination. This was taken in 2015, and you can see the development. This is the original convention center, opened in 1989, the expansion, which opened in 2001, Marriott Hotel, 1,300 rooms, Hyatt Hotel. This is the Gaslamp Quarter right here, Omni Hotel, and off picture here, there's a Hilton Hotel, site of the annual Pop Symphony, Marina. All of this has happened since 1980. So now, where we once had empty warehouses and rundown hotels, this is the home of our Gaslamp, where convention attendees flow out of the convention center after their shows and visit the convention center. This is our new brand new, let me stop it here.
Residential and recreational uses. The area that became the Gaslamp Quarter truly was the city's Skid Row. It was an area for rescue missions. It was an area for empty buildings, derelict buildings. The sidewalks themselves were in disrepair. And in a very short amount of time, with key catalyst projects like the convention center in the late 80s, this became a benefactor to the city. This is a very easy destination, whether that's for business or for tourism. Downtown San Diego is so uniquely situated with the water on one side, Balboa Park on the other, and then you've got SeaWorld and everything else towards the beaches. You can get everywhere here without having to rent a car. But the whole downtown is so walkable. We have so many people that never even have to worry about transportation. And if they gotta go a little farther, there's a trolley right here. And they're right over to the center and onto their business and then right back out into the sunshine. That's what makes us so unique. To residents, I don't think they understand. That's the infill for your favorite restaurant, your favorite retailer. That keeps the business going all the time because not everybody can go out every night for dinner, but these hotels are huge economic generators for these businesses, the regular mom and pop businesses, to be successful and be there when you want to go out. That's what really is the magic of the synergy between a gas lamp quarter and a convention center. This is not able to be duplicated anywhere else in the city of San Diego or Southern California, or I would even argue anywhere in the nation.
There's widespread overall agreement that the convention center was the initial catalyst for the redevelopment of the downtown waterfront, the gas lamp, and the neighborhoods. Over the last 25 years, the convention center has contributed $18 billion of regional economic impact to the destination, over $472 million in tax revenues for the city of San Diego, attracted 20 million attendees who have spent $10.8 billion in the destination, and we've hosted over 5,300 events in San Diego. Okay, now let's spend some time talking about how we evaluate the economic impact of the events held at the convention center. And we first start by talking about how what we put into the convention center. This is a chart that we use to talk to our stakeholders about how we evaluate business for the convention center, because it starts there. So many of our stakeholders are not from our industry, so they don't understand MICE, what it means. They don't understand, they know consumer shows, but they understand very little. I will talk about each one of these sections individually, but know that this is something we do quite often with our stakeholders. First thing, we talk about events that are bad for the convention center and bad for the city. These are events that might be a high school cheerleading competition where most of the attendees are driving in daily. They're not staying in the hotels. They can't afford to meet at the convention center, and they're not spending money in our restaurants. So when we talk to our stakeholders about why we don't book this business, it's bad for the city and it's bad for the convention center because they can't pay the rate. The next event would be something that's good for the city, but not good for the convention center. Something in this category would be like a national political convention. In 1996, San Diego hosted a national political convention that required our building for 3 months. We had to move 10 contracted events out of the building into other cities to allow us to host that event. Also, because of the long move in and move out over those 3 months, we could not host any other events at our convention center. Was it great for the city? Great exposure, great media exposure, but for the convention center, our bottom line took a hit that year. In the third category are events that are good for the convention center, but bad for the city. These are events like consumer shows where they can come in, they can pay the rate for the convention center, they spend a lot of money on food and beverage and other ancillary services, but they don't stay in the hotels, they don't maybe go into the restaurants. Good for the convention center, our bottom line, but bad for the destination. We still book those events, but we book those events in very short term. And this is the goal: events that are good for the convention center and good for the city. And this is where we focus our marketing efforts. We focus on high-end medical meetings, high-quality corporate events like Microsoft, and high-end events like one of our annual biggest events, which is the Comic-Con International event, which has been in San Diego for over 45 years. By going through this type of chart with our stakeholders, they understand how we market the building and what we're focused on, so that when we say no to someone's pet event, they understand why we're saying no. Or when we have to make a tough decision, like booking the Republican National Convention for the benefit of the city, the stakeholders understand that the convention center bottom line will take a hit, but the overall benefit to the destinations, we got a great PR out of that process. Now that we've decided how we book the business, let's talk about how we evaluate and measure the business. I had a chance to talk to Carlos, who's been with Cintermex, who's been in the business now about 3 weeks. And I asked him what was his biggest surprise. And he said, the technology and the computer system that we use. And that's the same thing we discovered 25 years ago in trying to look at systems, how we can use to evaluate our business. So we pretty much built our own in-house system or modified another one. This is our statistical fact sheet. In this first, we have all the event details, everything like just all the event details. I'm sure you all know what that means. And building on this all event details, we then produce monthly and year-to-date reports, quarterly reports, current year forecasts compared to previous years, 2-year forecast projections, and has all of our historical information for the last 25 years. So we have 25 years of information. If you think about most of our events are repeat business, over 70% is repeat business. This is a great resource for us. But what I want you to focus on really is the bottom line number, which is called the Regional Economic Impact Calculator. And that's what we use to develop the information that we tell to our stakeholders. It works like a calculator, and by adding in a few data points, room nights, peak room nights, total room nights, attendance and event type, then you fill that in and it calculates, as you see here, the economic impact, regional impact, attendee spending. And this is all done by information that we feed into this system by formula, so that when someone asks us a question about any particular event, or when we're looking to book something, we can go in and run numbers and see what this means. So this is our basic document that we use. There are also other evaluation tools that we use in talking to our sales and marketing team. One are our booking guidelines. We book we're now booking into the 2030s. We book 20 years out, we contract about 10 years out, so we're booking business now into the mid-2030s. So we have clear guidelines about when we will book a piece of business into the center, which means that we will not book a piece of business that's only 3,000 peak room nights into 2030 because they block the entire building. So with the booking guidelines, as well as the negotiating parameters that we give to our sales team that tell them in detail how they can negotiate with business. With these guidelines, then it allows our sales team to be nimble and book business into San Diego, focus on the goals that we have of the best business for the destination. Okay, moving on to how we measure our economic impact. Let's go there. First thing, we work with our tourism authority to do visitor studies. And it's not only the visitor authority, but it's also 4 other entities in the destination: the Convention Center Corporation, the Visitors Authority, SeaWorld, the zoo, the airport. We all contribute money to one visitor study, and we hire this company that annually does visitor studies. They call them INSEP studies, where they'll be throughout the destination, and they'll survey people about what they're spending and how many nights they're staying and things like that. And this data, which is done every 2 years, is what we feed into our statistical fact sheet that, again, is updated every 2 years. Also, we as a corporation will hire the same consultant to do event-specific studies on any particular event. This you see here is one we've done for Comic-Con, which is, again, one of our largest events coming into San Diego. And we will do this survey. We did one in 2008. We're ready to do another survey now. But we would identify various events throughout the year that we will contract with this company to do a specific survey for that event. I should say I want to put a plug in here for the DMAI, Destination Marketing Institute International, because everyone can't develop their own in-house tool like we have done. So they've done the hard work for you. They have what's called the Event Impact Calculator that works pretty much like our calculator. And in fact, I'll say that the staff person on DMAI worked for us for many years as our head of sales and marketing, and then she retired and she's now working with them. But their impact tool works pretty much like our calculator on business. So if you don't want to develop your own, they have one already available for you to use. So what comes out of that? So on an annual basis, I'll see here some of the things that we report on. Room nights. This shows here our top 5 room nights that we show, and it's no surprise that 3 of the top 5 are medical shows, which is our primary focus. It's no surprise that Comic-Con International is our largest event that comes to San Diego every year with 126,000 room nights. And again, you see here with our focus on medical meetings, we focus there because they can spend more, they can afford the convention center, they tend to bring their families and take advantage of other amenities in San Diego, they stay longer, and they're pretty much stable business in any kind of economic downturn. Event attendance, that's also another major measure for us, and I'm not going to read the slide, but you can see here one of the local shows we book is the auto show that is booked in San Diego. But we book that's held between Christmas and New Year's, so that again, it's a consumer show, but it's held in off-peak time that allows us to have that event for local attendees to come into the building, but again, not disrupt our convention business. Also, the Rock and Roll Marathon is held over Labor Day. Again, it's a racing event. So we try to work with our destination to book those type of events into the destination when we can and in off-peak times for us. Here is a detailed rundown on Comic-Con, and I talk about this. I want to show you here, in addition to looking at room nights and attendance, we also worked with our get other information. That retail shopping, there's a shopping mall within a block and a half of the convention center. They track numbers on how much spending happens when conventions are in town. We reach out to them to get that information. There's also work with our airport, the auto rental, and then the event organizer. We talk to the event organizer, the exhibitor companies. They track revenues by event. So it's a matter of reaching out to them and asking them, what are your numbers? And you'll see here in the miscellaneous, grocery stores. There's a major grocery store that moved into downtown within 2 blocks of the convention center several years ago, and it is the top performing grocery store in the region. And when we heard that, we talked to that store management to say, can we get information from you about what happens during events at the convention center? And again, we're able to build that into our model about the economic impact of the convention center. Let's see here. Other things we measure, our stakeholders want to hear about, tax revenues. And this is important for them because it is a public building. Unlike most U.S. facilities, though, we only receive about $3.5 million a year from our city of San Diego, and nothing from the port of San Diego. All the other revenues are generated by the convention center, but our stakeholders want to know what are the tax revenues, and this is a metric that we report on by event, by market. There's other economic development that we talk about as well, because as you saw what San Diego looked like in 1980, and you see the hotels that have developed since the convention center opened. So we report on hotel development that is still happening in San Diego. And again, the convention center drives a great deal of that. If you look at this graphic, it shows that in 1989, there were 6,700 hotel rooms in the convention in San Diego, and now 2015, there are 14,000 and more are coming. This growth again is credit to the convention center. Another area of growth, restaurants. They have had a similar growth as to the hotel community, and we report that as well because those restaurants bring jobs and tax revenues to the city. And you'll see in this chart that in 1989, there were 8 restaurants in the area down by the convention center, and today they're nearly 100 with 93. One of the overarching goals of the redevelopment of the area by the convention center was to also redevelop the neighborhood around the waterfront. Back in the 80s, that area was a red light district where the Navy sailors were off below and go into the gas lamp, and the city wanted to get rid of that area and bring it up. And so residential growth was a huge part of what has happened in downtown, and we track that as well. And you can see that since in 1979 to where we are today, 31,000 units are in downtown San Diego. So downtown has become a huge walkable community. and the other amenities that have developed around the convention center, like the gas lamp and like the ballpark coming downtown and the grocery store, those things that support neighborhoods have all been credited to the convention center. Now, I need to say, we can't take all the credit, but a majority of it started with the convention center. As we said, that was the catalyst to what happened. As Jim Rooney said, there are a lot of non-measurable value that we don't report on, but we do talk about it. One is the ongoing education of our community. When we're negotiating for events, when we have a chance to bring something like the Association of School Administrators, fire chiefs, firefighters convention, chiefs of police, anything like that that will support our local community and educating our community, we will negotiate a little stronger for them to get them into the city because it benefits our largest community. Creating a forum for interaction between global investors and looking to invest in San Diego. Exposure for the destination. Attracting top professionals for any given field. As he talked about then, we're a knowledge-based economy. Exposure of local businesses, international cooperation, and also just the ability to affect the economic development of your region. All of those are byproducts of the convention center that they're intangible. We can't put our hands to measure those. We're trying to, but we can't measure those, but we can't talk about those as things that are generated and are positively impacted by the convention center. Also, we report on jobs. One of the reasons why San Diego wanted to build a convention center in the whole industry is the third largest industry in San Diego, and so we report that 12,000 jobs are generated by the convention center. And for our employees, we track them by city council district. So that when we're talking to our council members, when we're talking to our county commissioners, when we're talking to our port commissioners, all who are appointed by district, we can talk about the percentage of employees that are in their district. And we not only track convention center employees, but we track our contractor employees, like our food and beverage company and all other, so the larger group of employees that are in the convention center, we can talk about what percentage is in their district. It means votes for them. We also want to talk about being a good corporate citizen. So many times people think convention centers are just built for out-of-towners. So we do a lot to talk about what we give back to the community. We work with our conventions as they leave materials behind to donate those. And we donate to over 25 charities throughout the San Diego destination. Last year, we celebrated our 25th anniversary, and we used that opportunity to have a luncheon to celebrate that, as well as to do a fundraising, make that luncheon a fundraiser. And we donated $25,000 to a charity that supports getting the homeless off the streets in downtown San Diego. And as you can imagine, the homeless are a negative impact to our attendees, and they work to get them off the streets and into permanent housing. So we donated $50,000. And you see here the council president, as well as my board chair and the woman who runs that agency involved in that. Let's see, I'm gonna get. Trying to move to the next. And this slide is about, we donated over 75 tons of food to a particular agency called the San Diego Rescue Mission, who again feeds the homeless. And as part of the outreach, we developed a video that we showed at that annual luncheon. It talks a bit
Center's
about
main kitchen
what happens
is prepped
there.
for a donation. This food, left over from a large meeting of more than 6,000 scientists, is not going to waste. It's all being donated by Centerplate, the convention center's in-house caterer, to the San Diego Rescue Mission.
We have had a long-standing relationship with San Diego Convention Center and with Centerplate. That relationship has yielded us thousands and thousands of pounds of food every year. We are picking up at 100 locations every day, and certainly one of the largest is the amount of food that we get from the convention center. We house over 400 people here every single night, so you can do the arithmetic times 365. It's a pretty sizable number.
These donations also supply food to the Rescue Mission's Partners for Hunger Relief program, which is made up of 46 smaller nonprofits. Each one depends on the generosity of others, including the San Diego Convention Center and Centerplate.
The relationship with the San Diego Convention Center is one of our strongest financial supports, not generally seen by the public. They don't get listed on donor records other than our own. If somebody wanted to go in, they can certainly see that. So when we're having conventions here, a lot of people attend those conventions, and after 2 days of going to meetings, we do a little tap dance and say, "Thank you, Lord."
As much as we pride ourselves on feeding the masses and getting everything out on time, quality, hot, when you see all the extra waste that comes back, it does feel good not to just simply throw it into the trash, that it can be benefited once again.
The Convention Center and Centerplate have donated 565 tons of food to the rescue mission. Just last year, donations totaled 131,000 pounds of food.
It's sustainability, really.
The food being prepped in this kitchen benefits another community partner, San Diego's Monarch School. This special public school educates and enriches the lives of children impacted by homelessness. The food donations from Centerplate help these students learn communication skills through a program called Speak for Treats. It was all started by a former teacher and volunteer who wanted to give back to his community.
When I moved downtown, that was the first time I became aware of Monarch School through a neighbor. And she put me in touch with Dana Harwood, who's an 8th grade teacher.
Did I do something?
Through this program, 8th grade Monarch School students learn basic conversation skills, such as how do you introduce yourself to someone, what questions should you ask, and how do you carry on a basic conversation. All with food and treats donated by Centerplate as a reward.
When we hosted the lunch for them here, it was a new experience for them. They were, wow, they'd never seen anything like that. We taught them table manners, how the table was set, how we serve from the left, pull from the right. So the whole experience for them to have like a sit-down lunch was kind of an eye-opening experience for them.
Throughout the year, the San Diego Convention Center is proud to partner with many other organizations, including Technology Training Foundation of America, Veterans Village, local libraries, churches, schools, and Neighborhood House Association, just to name a few. Giving back is an important part of the Convention Center's philosophy. We're more than just conventions. We're the center for community partnerships.
Okay, now that we talked about how we get our business, measure it, now let's talk about how we report it. Because San Diego is a building that is a public building, and as a public building, whenever we want to expand, we need to go to the public for some kind of vote, either to approve the location or approve the funding source. So we spend a lot of time making sure the public knows that they benefit indirectly by the convention center. The videos that you see here are made available to our local TV stations, and they run them in our nonprofit radio stations, and they run them over evenings and nights when they don't have other product. And again, it gets good exposure for the convention center. So as I talk about how we report on the economic and social impact of the convention center, I'm sure a lot of the stuff you're already doing yourself, but this is some of the things we're doing in San Diego. First, our website, and many of us have our websites. Ours is focused on 3 targeted audiences: planners, attendees, as well as exhibitors. In addition, there's a section that talks about Convention Center. Also, there's a media section where media can reach out and get information. So we have that on there as well on the website. This is our digital brochure and the original first site for our marketing efforts. We do a blog that, and we post stories here, probably 2 or 3 a week, and we record operating results, and we end up doing, people give us blog information. They ask, can they blog with us? Students reach out to us, and sometimes we'll ask to blog with us, but we end up with a lot of information on our blog that happens. Social media, we're all involved in social media. And some years ago, we reached out to a college student and to ask him to come in and do our tweeter program for us. And he said, "You'll pay me to tweet?" We said, yeah, and so came on board and just really ran a great program for us. So Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the social media outlets that we're involved in. We have our attendee guide is there, as well as other materials. And you can see here some of the stories that we put on. We talk about the 25th anniversary, we talk about employees. And when I mentioned Twitter and tweeting for various events, the biggest issue for Comic-Con, other than the lines, are parking. So we have a staff person who is tweeting, where is the parking available for Comic-Con in the downtown region? So those types of things that happen. The same thing, if something is happening negatively that people are tweeting about during a convention, we monitor tweets all during conventions, and we can get on top of things and I respond early when people are saying, well, I'm in front of Starbucks and there's nobody here, or there's a huge line at Starbucks. We can get online to say there are 3 Starbucks in the building, and if you would go to and give them direction, again, trying to counteract negative information is how we use that social media as well. A mobile app. We recently developed a mobile app, and you can see here, I mentioned an attendee guide. We have a guide that runs with advertising. It is advertising from restaurants in the Gaslamp area, the whole San Diego region. And we now make that guide available as part of our mobile app. And the mobile app works with our beacon system. And I know that Corbin's going to talk about that later on today, about how it's something new that we're trying out. It's in development right now, but you can download our app to both Android and Apple devices. It's available at the Apple Store. And we're working with our users to embed our app into their overall event app, so that again we can gather information about attendees, as well as push information down to the community about what's going on at the convention center. And again, this helps us tell our story. One of the newest things we've been using is called infographics, and we found that these simple visual presentations of our information has increased the click-through on our website exponentially. And so we're using this information through all of our materials that we push out into the community. We do an annual report that tells our story. Most of us do an annual report. This one is done, and you see the infographics. We provide this as well as talking about our environmental initiatives. I haven't talked about how we do the farm to table, where we work with our food and beverage company to work with the local farmers to plant the food that they're going to put on their menus the next year. And so they gear their menus to what's being planted in the field, or they have the farmers plant what they're going to need the next year. So those type of initiatives, we talk about those in our annual report. And again, all of those get great community exposure. We annually publish a business forecast. We're on a fiscal year that's a July 1 fiscal year, but the hotel community and many are on a calendar year. So at the end of the year, we will publish first results of 15 calendar year, and then we'll go into 16, what does next year look like. And this publication always gets great coverage from the media as they're doing stories over the holidays into the beginning of the year. And we make this available throughout the destination and throughout the year. We also use special events, and we try to think of any event that we can, again, capture the imagination of the media, the community, and get our electeds and our stakeholders involved. And of course, one that happened recently was the 25th anniversary. The theme of that was the convention center is a center for all. And you saw that in the presentation, Center for Community Partnerships, Center for Everybody. It's not just for out-of-towners. And so we did a special luncheon for that, where the mayor came, as well as that's the chair of the Port Commissioner on the screen, the president of City Council, many community leaders, retired employees. It was a great event. And again, I mentioned before, that's the one where we gave the check to the homeless outreach program. And we were able to, again, get a lot of our key messages out into the community. And everyone took pride in what has happened in San Diego over 25 years. Okay, many City Council and the Port partnered, and now looking at what has happened to downtown over the past 25 years. And of course, one of the oldest methods of getting your word out is the old-fashioned press conference. And this is one we held where Comic-Con was announcing we had just booked them for another 3 years in San Diego. We hired the actors to be in those uniforms, again, for the visual, for the media. This is the gentleman is the Comic-Con marketing person, and the lady is the council president, and she's a Comic-Con geek. And so she loved being there. And again, we invested the dollars to get the press coverage. Annually, we do several presentations to our city council, and we make those events with a lot of colorful presentations. We do presentations on sales and marketing updates. They want an operational update, and then just in the annual overall updates. We produce high quality color presentations. Those events are covered by the media, so we're able to provide information to the media, and again, continue background, getting the information out about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and showcase the success of the convention center as always a part of that. And speaking of stakeholders, we try to find ways to get stakeholders into our building. And again, not only but the other community. And Comic-Con being the biggest event that we have, it's been in San Diego nearly 45 years. We have 4,000 media in town for that event. So in addition to doing a lot of media outreach doing that, working with Comic-Con, we reach out to our electeds, our stakeholders, our city council members, and we do a back of house tour of Comic-Con right before the show opens. We invite them in for breakfast, and we do a whole report on what Comic-Con means to San Diego, what it means to the destination, and how Comic-Con is representative of other conventions in San Diego that come to San Diego, and then we give them a back of house tour. And every year we have 40 to 50 policymakers come through for this event. They bring their children, and so it's just a great event that they look forward to. And we do this for other events as well, not just for Comic-Con, but other medical meetings that are coming into the building. We do that as well. Another way we generate information is we do monthly media alerts about events in the building. We publish a calendar of events what's coming into the building. We work with our clients to say what stories, what new announcements are you going to have, work with their press people. If they're going to, again, medical meetings, if they have great discoveries they're going to announce, we want to be involved in that to help them, again, get the word out, get the press there. If they're doing press conferences, so we partner with them and give our media the heads up. This is coming in this month, so you may want to be prepared to cover the story, and we get great coverage. There are 18 regional papers in San Diego County. So we reach out to all of them. Many of them are community oriented, but again, we reach out and they appreciate the outreach. Old-fashioned press releases, and we do that to pitch stories to our trade publications, we look at what's going on in trends in the industry that we may be looking at and participating in. We'll look out and reach out to trade publications and pitch stories. And because they know that we can respond quickly, many times we'll get calls to say, hey, we're working on this story. What do you have about this that we can talk about? And would you be willing to be interviewed? So because they know we have an ongoing relationship, sometimes when they're on deadline, they'll reach out to us to say, hey, what do you have in this area here? And we can get something for them or get them to the right location. I mentioned story pitches already. I talked about that. And our annual press kit. And this is combining, we talk about the annual forecast. We put together a press kit of just basic information about the convention center so that whenever a reporter is writing a story, they don't have to make up the numbers. We have the numbers there for them. We have graphs there. We tell them if you need a graph, we can create one for you. And so we want them to have the correct information when they're reporting on the convention center about the impact, because if it's not at their fingertips, they'll say whatever. And so we try to make it very easy for them to get the right information about the center. So I want to show you, I talk about Comic-Con because everyone sees Comic-Con. We tried this year to think of another great story, another twist on Comic-Con after 45 years. And I'll show you a video we did of one of our event managers who has been the event manager for Comic-Con since they came into the building. So let's see here. That's going to.
Time.
Welcome to Comic-Con, folks.
San Diego Comic-Con International, held at the San Diego Convention Center since 1991. Comic-Con has become the largest convention of its kind on the planet. It's where you see celebrities shine, where pop culture reigns, and fans will do just about anything to get inside Hall H. Many people say it's the coolest convention in the world. So the guy who manages this event at the convention center, well, he must have the coolest job in the world, right? Who is this superhero behind the superheroes?
My name is Tim Pontrelli. I'm a senior event manager. I've worked since 1983 on Comic-Con. Most of the same people that managed it back then, I still work with today.
Tim Pontrelli has 3 decades of Comic-Con under his utility belt. Digging through our photo archives, the first pictures we could find are from the Comic-Con convention in 1992. The big star at that event, Mr. T. And the costumes weren't quite what you find today. Neither was the crush of 130,000 fans. It was more like 4,000 people. So we asked him, what was it like in those early years?
The first Comic-Con that I worked, it was all volunteers. It was young elementary and high school students as the security. They were in Golden Hall and Plaza Hall, which is the Convention and Performing Arts Center. And they had the art show on a couple of pegboards, and it literally was milk crates with comic books in all of the milk crates.
As the event grew over the years, Tim noticed his waistline starting to shrink, so to speak.
At one point, when it was just me doing it in the early 2000s, I would lose about 15 pounds. And I was walking probably anywhere from 15 to 20 miles a day, come in at 4 in the morning every morning, and be walking at that point, just trying to get lines in control, making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that would be nonstop until I'd leave that evening.
As attendance cracked 100,000 attendees in 2004, reinforcements were called in, and Tim's Comic-Con weight loss plan came to an end.
Fortunately, over the last few years, it's gotten so big and aging a little bit that we actually have a team of people that actually help me now, and I'm the lead. They call me the overlord sometimes for the event.
Comic-Con is so big, it spills into the city and is one of San Diego's top economic generators. Every person standing in line helps bring in approximately $177 million in economic impact.
Here's the line. People just want to be part of that. I guess the closest thing would be a mini Academy Awards where they get a chance to see their celebrity. They get to see the movies that are coming up.
Even Tim has time to have some fun on the exhibit floor. And he's a self-proclaimed fan of The Big Bang Theory. But as the superhero behind the show, there's no time to be starstruck. His main concern is keeping the show running smoothly and ensuring the safety and security of attendees.
It is by far and away the comic book convention or Comic-Con in the world. There are a lot of imitators. It is the original, and it truly has grown up in San Diego. And it's truly the one that everyone wants to see. It's the bucket list convention that people want to come to.
And thanks to Tim's superhuman powers, San Diego Comic-Con International will continue to bring thrills and chills to more than 130,000 fans.
So we got a lot of coverage from that event. Again, trying to think of another way to get Comic-Con into the local media and related to the convention center. Know that all those videos are produced in-house. The voices you hear are staff. Our CFO has done videos, our IT director, so we use all of our own staff, and they love being involved in the process. And again, they're very proud. So in wrapping up, I want to say, as I talked about, first you evaluate the business, and I talked about how we use the chart to evaluate the business we put into the convention center and our destination, how we use that chart to share with our stakeholders. Then I talked about how we measure what we booked for the convention center and the destination. And lastly, how you report on it and how we tell the story. So as Jim Rooney said in his presentation, if you don't talk about it, it didn't happen. And so we're firm believers of that, and we are out there constantly talking about the convention center. So celebrate your history. It's a fine history and be proud of it as we are of ours. So again, thank you for this opportunity. And if there are any questions, I'm available.
Carol, how does the convention center coordinate with the CBB to coordinate an event on your destination?
Okay. We've gone back and forth with our CVB and convention center marketing. At first, at one point, the staff was inside the convention center. Now we have a contract with the tourism authority to do the marketing for the convention center, and we coordinate all of our events. So the sales and marketing team are under the tourism authority. We transferred all the staff there into their staff to work with them on single property as well. But then they report to us as on all of the convention center stuff. We coordinate, we're involved. Once the TVB identifies the business, again, a lot of it is repeat business, then we negotiate. The convention center negotiates. That sales and marketing team, they have our booking guidelines, they have our parameters, and they're formerly our staff. So they know what our requirements are. So when they're booking business, they know what we need. The convention services staff, those people who once site visits happen, those people are convention center employees. So again, they partner with convention center, tourism authority staff. When clients come in town to do site visits, then they will travel around with them. They show them the hotels, they show them all the special venues. But all of that staff is pretty much our staff at the Convention Center Corporation, and we work in cooperation with the tourism authority.
The other question is, do you coordinate with the airports and airlines and logistic companies, or does the CBB does that for you?
We work directly with the airport authority. They are a separate authority in San Diego, and we know that staff very well. So we work directly with them. Now the CBB works them also on destination and travel. We've only got them, so we pretty much, the CBB does the higher level of tourism part. But if there's a need, like clients are arriving in and they want airport people to say, do welcome, whatever, we work directly with the airport authority. And we did have one situation where we had a client coming in, and one of the airlines had changed their flights, it canceled a flight, and it majorly impacted our convention. We reached out to the airport authority, and they were able to work with the airlines to reestablish that flight just through the time period of this convention so that their attendees could get in town. So it's a pretty close working relationship with the airport and the tourism authority.
¿Alguien más? Acá por acá tenemos dos.
Gastón, quisiera hacer en español. ¿Me ayudas? La traducción.
Oh, I did.
Tienes tú. Do you have your translator?
Right there. Okay.
Buenos días, gracias por la presentación. Cuando se presentan todos estos indicadores del impacto que tiene el Centro de Convenciones de San Diego, la parte de la ciudad o la hotelería no cuestiona que ese beneficio sea solamente logrado por el Centro de Convenciones, no también influye, por ejemplo, el zoológico de San Diego o en otras atracciones de la ciudad. Estos indicadores son solamente del Centro de Convenciones, no de toda la ciudad.
Okay. Did you want to repeat the question? Okay. No, the hotels don't challenge that this impact is from the convention center. We have tracked since we opened in 1989 the impact. When we opened, there was only one hotel downtown, and that was the Marriott Hotel. All the others have developed around the convention center since that time has happened. So the hotel community is very supportive of our numbers. We do numbers together, and we're in very close collaboration with them, so they don't challenge that the impact does not come from the convention center. They support that message. We do have a larger region, a larger region of San Diego that is on Mission Bay. These are hotels that are about 10 miles from the convention center. And we talk about how they benefit from the convention center as well, because when the downtown hotels are full and the business traveler needs to come to San Diego, they're forced to go to all those other outlying hotels. Those hotels challenge that assertion. They don't believe they receive anything from what's called compression. And they believe that, there's no benefit to the outlying hotels from the downtown, that all the benefit lies at the downtown hotels. So because of that, when we were looking to expand the convention center and putting a surcharge on the hotels, we put the largest surcharge on the hotels right around the convention center of 3%. And then those further out were 2% and 1%, because those hotels feel they don't get as much of an impact of the convention center as those right next to it, those downtown. We have 14,000 hotel rooms in the downtown walkable distance area. Those are the ones that are majorly impacted, and they support the message that that impact is driven by the convention center.
Gracias.
¿Alguna otra por ahí? Sí, acá, don.
Carol, you've been managing San Diego for a long period of time. And one of the things as a public venue that we have in Mexico is that every 6 years there's a change of governor, and eventually a lot of the people, a lot of staff from those venues move out, so there's no continuation. How do you deal with that? I mean, you've been a long period of time. I'm sure you've been through several governors in your state. How do you keep that, or how does the city has that continuation as it pertains on your plan since 1980?
Okay. It is an ongoing project to educate our stakeholders. And we start not only with the elected official, but also their staffs. Many times they will have a policy person who is assigned to the convention center. And so over the years, we work with their staff to educate them. And many times we find, because there are term limits for a city council and all of our elected offices, many times that staff person will end up being the council person or the commissioner. So by having educated them when they were staff person and work with them, they understand the value of the convention center. Also, when new people announce they are running for office, we reach out to them then to talk about our goals for the convention center. So if you're running for office, we bring you into the convention center, we'll bring your campaign team in, we'll host you for lunch or for breakfast, or just come in and meet, and we talk about the convention center. We tell them that if on their campaign trail, if they want information to talk about what they will do for the convention center or our industry, we're a resource for them. So we do an early reach out to all of the electeds. We also do probably about 100 community presentations a year, going to the Rotaries, the Lions Club. I mean, just you invite us, we'll come. And you heard me talk about that college student who was the Twitter person for us. Now, 5 years later, he is one of the people we use as our community outreach speaking, because having responded over 5 years to all the tweets, he's hearing some of the issues raised by the community. So now he's a great person to go out and talk to at those community meetings, those forums about this convention center. And he has some real life experience. So it is an ongoing, all the time process for us. And anytime anybody new surfaces on the scene, we'll reach out to them. We also, when we see people who become opinion leaders talking to the press about the importance of the convention center, we reach out to them as well and try to give them the good information, so that as they're talking about our industry and about us particularly, they have good information. It is all the time.
Bueno, pues le pediríamos entonces a nuestro señor tesorero.
Okay. Can I say one other item before I leave? Something you haven't asked me, and I've been asked this before though, is what do we do in booking business when we have competing events where it's good business both sides? And we have had that situation quite a few times. And an example, we really reach out to our hotel community, a situation in like we have one right now going on where, as a good example, where we have a client already contracted for the convention center in December in our community. And another piece of business that is bigger is coming along because one of our sister facilities is delayed in their expansion. So what we did, we reached out to the other facility to say, okay, why don't we take your event come to San Diego, you take our event, go up there, and the business stays in California. So we work with our hotel community. Hotel community agreed to do that. They agreed to subsidize the rent in the other facility, which is, because the other facility, the convention center is writing contracts with 15 hotels to make that happen. And we've done that about 5 times in our industry, about where we've had to move business to get another piece of business in. But you know, we work together as a community with our hotels, so we're all on the same page about what the goals are, and with our electeds about what goals are. And so it's a constant collaboration. So, and they know it because they hear it from us every day about the importance of working together. Okay,
Carol,
thank you again.
Thank you very much. Gonzalo, please.
Thank you, sir.
Just a second.
Oh, okay, sorry.
For the picture.